Hey everyone, welcome back to Kingdom College. I'll be going through a selective preparation power reading test today. So let's get started. I'm just going to flick through the first 3 slides in case you guys do not have a copy of them. So this is the first slide of the closed passage, the second slide of the closed passage, and the third one, which includes your options. Sorry for the format. The original answer was not actually an appropriate word. Not that it was a slur, it's just that considering the social climate, it's a bit offensive. And by the way, just on that topic, I know that we're in Australia, but and when we say Aboriginal, we just assume Indigenous Australians, but the actual definition of Aboriginal is Indigenous. So when you do try and describe, when you do say Aboriginal, say the nationality afterwards, because we don't really know like what Indigenous person you're referring to, what Indigenous group. So yeah. Anyway, let's get started. For question 1, we have the placement in the middle of the introduction. So immediately we know it's probably a basic fact. It's just kind of chucked in there, but it's going to have to relate to whatever has been said before, whilst also being a segue into the next topic. So let's look at the sentence before question 1. It is related to the other legendary ape-like creatures such as the Yeti in China, Bigfoot in America, and Pongo in Africa. So they're telling us what they refer to Yowie as in different regions. The following part, the Nukuna are documented in Aboriginal rock paintings where they are sometimes depicted with other native animals such as kangaroos, dingoes, and emus. So we can try and look for a sentence that kind of relates to Aboriginal Australian culture that does refer to the Yowie. And whilst also acknowledging that there are different names for the Yowie. So the only option we do have for that would be A, actually, because it refers to how Aboriginal Australians call the Yowie the Nukuna. Sorry. And that flows really well because the next sentence says Nukuna. B could have been one of the options because it does say Aboriginal, but this doesn't actually flow well with the following sentence because it doesn't include the Nukuna, that word specifically. So the answer would be A for question 1. For question 2, we're moving into the body paragraphs. We're being shown the description of it: 2 to 3 meters tall, 1.5 meters tall, 3 toes, padded feet, other theories. We're kind of, like I said, it's a description of what they physically look like. And now, in the sentence before question 2, such descriptions are consistent with Aboriginal legends. We're looking into the mythology behind the Yowie. The creatures are often large framed. The creatures are large framed and look like a cross between human and primate. So, description. We're looking for a sentence that describes the Yowie either in a mythological sense or in a physical sense. So B would not be an answer. By the way, I'm just going to be skipping the answers that we've already had before, so I'm not going to be analyzing A. C, they're talking about encounters. We're not talking about encounters. We're trying to look at what the Nukuna looks like or what they are like. D, these usually occur in bushland locations. We don't know what these are. Now E, most reports suggest that the Yowie has a thick covering of hair all over the body. This is the best sentence because it gives us that description, that physical description of that thick fur, thick covering of hair, if you like, all over the body. So question 2. For question 2, the answer would be D, which is in reference to sentence E. I've kind of went through the answer structure before in our previous videos, but in case you didn't watch those, you guys will only get options A, B, C, and D, but you're looking specifically at what the letter after it is so that we know which sentence you're referring to. Anyway, let's move on. For question 3, this is the very last sentence of the paragraph. So we're looking for a sentence that sums up whatever was said before. So we know it was originally a description in the first body paragraph. Following that, I'm going to be looking at the sentence before question 3. Yowie sightings have been recorded in all states and territories of Australia. Great, so we're talking about sightings now. Okay, so we know we can't do A and E. B, once again, not an option because other Aboriginal names include so, and so. We're not talking about names, we're talking about sightings now. So C and D, good, those would be the good options here. So we're talking about what they look like, where they have been located in Australia. So also many encounters occur at dawn or dusk, in poor light and in thick bushland. Or D, these usually occur in bushland locations on the edges of human settlements. These two are both good options, but I would opt for D because the sentence before, and if you guys haven't noticed, the sentence, the 3 sentences beforehand also say, they're also in reference to human beings. So because there's a strong focus on humans, right, and Yowie sightings have been recorded in all states and territories of Australia, we're talking about location and human settlements specifically. So not necessarily time or the flaws of these sightings, like C does point out and critically tell us that there are flaws to these sightings. The answer should be D. So let's have a go at question 4 as well. For question 4, we're still talking about the sightings of the Yowie. So we're gonna look for a sentence that talks about the sightings of a Yowie, but this time they're actually critiquing these sightings. So we've already chosen A, D, and E. So we only have B and C. Because B is still talking about the names of the Yowie in different contexts, that can't be the answer. Now C talks about the flaws of these sightings, so C would be a completely plausible answer. So the answer would be B, which refers to sentence C. So for the next extract, we have The Sanctuary by Colin Thiel in 1992. This extract is mainly about Stormboy, who I'm assuming is a hero or some sort of heroic character, and basically they're walking along the beach and they notice one day that a group of men have basically trashed a certain area, and Stormboy reacts by just wanting to avenge the area, basically. Something I'd really like you guys to maybe just consider is the relationship Stormboy does have with the birds, the relationship he has with the group of men, the relationship he has with the setting, etc. Just so you can see how interconnected or interrelated everything is. Because once you have these ideas in your head already, it makes it so much more easier to answer the question so that it's like faster. So for question 5, from the passage we can conclude that Stormboy's attitude to the birds is one of A, B, C, or D. So because we already, based on the extract in the introductory paragraph, we can already assume that Stormboy has some sort of connection with the birds already in the sanctuary. So we can already kick out answers A and D, because pity refers to feeling bad for someone, feeling sorry for them, and it doesn't seem as if Stormboy has that attitude. D, disinterest. This is the one of the complete opposites of Stormboy's emotions towards the animals, because it seems as if Stormboy is actually really interested in the connection. It seems as if he is entertained, or he has some sort of desire to want to be with the animals, or at least to just protect the area, right? So that leaves us with answers B or C, awe and affection, or respect and affection. If you guys haven't gathered already, affection is this feeling of, it's a lovely kind of feeling, like a caring feeling. So affection, I think, is a great word to describe Stormboy's attitude. Awe is in reference to admiration, and respect is in reference to, I would say, like power dynamics, right? Understanding that say there's one person, another person, like they understand that they both have a sense of authority and they can kind of do what they would like to do in, you know, the respective positions, and as long as it's justified. So in this case, I don't think Stormboy is actually looking at the animals, the pelicans, the birds, as creatures that he looks up to and holds them of a high regard. But I think Stormboy understands that there is a certain order, a certain kind of organization that goes along in this setting, in the beach, in the sanctuary, and Stormboy understands that he has his role as well as a human being or as a person, right? So for that reason, because he's not holding the animals to a high regard, he's just respectful, then the answer would be C. Now for question 6, the men who destroyed the bird's nest probably did so to amuse themselves because they were scared, to steal the bird's eggs and chicks, or D, because the area was no longer a sanctuary. So this was in the middle paragraph, the second paragraph, when the boys had actually trashed the area. Now let's just take a look at our answers here. So A, to amuse themselves, because the men were laughing, this would be the answer because they're there to amuse themselves. They're laughing, so they weren't really intimidated or scared. I know some people can feign their fear because they can feign their fear through like laughing and such, but this case there was some sort of like confidence and ease with the trashing of the area. C, to steal the bird's eggs and chicks, that didn't happen, so we can't say that's C. And D, because the area was no longer a sanctuary. I'm pretty sure that the extract does not mention this, yeah, it didn't happen, so that's why the answer would not be D. So the answer is A. Unfortunately, I can't go through questions 9 to 10 with you guys, but here are the questions anyway. Please feel free to have a go. And so yeah, for the key points from this test, I mainly want you guys to note how precise these words are. So add them to your vocabulary, because the only way you guys can actually expand on your vocabulary is just by reading more, or even just opening up a dictionary and literally reading it. That's the only way. I really don't think there's any shortcut to learning every single word to the English language or knowing every single so-called sophisticated word. You just have to keep reading. It's just constant practice, and just being really precise with your words, like contentment and excitement, which we just went through, or even contentment, excitement, happiness. Try and think about what's the difference between them. Okay, is one of them a bit more hyper? Is one of them a bit more calm? Is one of them measured through success, etc., right? So that's something I want you guys to note. And as you're defining these words, note how specific they are, because these questions will most likely trip you over every now and then. Now, reviewing techniques. Consider what part of the technique is effective and why, and how's the meaning of the text elevated by using the technique. So we just went through the third extract, and I want to use as an example because the flying fox and the sense of nostalgia that you get because of the way that Laura narrates it, it's elevated because you feel much more casual compared to like a formal text. It feels more nostalgic, much more heartfelt. So her use of tone and colloquial language really elevates the meaning of the text. Now, I really want you to also consider that in your own writing, in your short answer and extended responses, because I think that would be really useful. English is very holistic. You are analyzing text you're analyzing text, and then you're being inspired by those texts to write your own texts, and then you're analyzing techniques to use techniques in your own text. So everything really comes together. So yeah, those are basically my key points from this test. Review your techniques in the sense that you can identify it, but understand like why would they use that and how does that make the text better, or if you don't like it, why do you think it doesn't make the text better? Do you think it makes it more complicated, etc.? And all whilst you're analyzing, note how precise you need to be with your words. Anyway, that's it for this week. Sorry I can't go through questions 9 and 10, but yeah, please have a good week and be safe, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.